All right. Get this. Hopefully get this call to connect. Uh, Trying to connect to WVOE. Looks like not getting the greatest signal in here. Give me a few seconds. Just use this backup. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Well, let's see if this is going to work for us. Oh, there we go. There we go. Trying to get WVOE on the line. WVOE. Hey, it's Dr. Brown. How you doing?
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second.
No problem.
And ladies and gentlemen, we waited on that call here at WVOE. This is Health Base with Dr. Brown. Stay tuned. All right, Doc.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate that. Thank you for that introduction as always. And good afternoon, listeners. You're locked into WVOE 1590 AM, the voice of Ebony, where your health is our heartbeat. I'm your host, Dr. Christopher Brown, president and founder of PressureMD Academy, welcoming you to another enriching session of Health Facts, the show where wisdom meets wellness and knowledge is always in season. So today we're about to do another show where we talk about it's something that I think is really important. Of course, I always pick things that I think are important, but it's an area where I think people hear about it a lot. However, sometimes you don't know the full date. The full.
Hey,
Yes. Can you hear me?
Hold on for a second.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned here at WVOE 1590. We'll be right back. Hey, Dr. Brown.
Yes.
We can't hear you clearly over here. You're breaking up.
Break it up. Okay, let me try. I'm going to call from another phone line. Let's see if that works for us, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. Let me,
All right.
all right. All right, we're going to call our friends on another line and see if they can hear us a little bit better. Not the greatest reception where I am right now, unfortunately. We got our... How's it sounding now? All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got Dr. Brown back with us, on board with us. Stay tuned.
All right. Sorry about that for folks that are on WVOE, and appreciate the patience of everybody that is on watching the live stream. Every now and then, of course, we have technology. Sometimes you have technological issues, and that just happens every now and then. So, but today, what we're going to be talking about is sitting the new smoking. So today we've kind of decided to pull a topic that affects everyone, everyone in different ways. And you probably heard about it, of course, with obesity. A lot of people talk about, the lack of activity. But a lot of times people don't understand exactly, the level, how harmful in what we call inactivity can be. We don't, we kind of mention it, you think about it, try to get the kids outside, the whole 9 yards. But a lot of times we don't really think about, first of all, how inactive a lot of us are, and then the impact of inactivity on the body. And so there's this phrase, like I said, I heard it a couple of years ago, and that is that sitting, a lot of times people consider sitting the new smoking. And of course, a lot of times we remember, all the warning signs we got about smoking, it causes cancer, it linked to heart disease, the whole 9 yards. But the health effects of being inactive, not moving the body, we're sitting down all day, those health effects are actually a lot larger than most people realize. And that phrase, sitting is the new smoking, kind of reflects just how important it is to move. And when they say move, just activity in general. And it also reflects the fact that, a lot of our lives have become much more convenient. And a lot of times we don't think we think about it. And so one of the things that we do a lot? We sit a lot. You sit in the morning when you're sitting all day, when you're a lot of people have desk jobs, so they're sitting all day there. When you come home, what do? You sit down, you might grab something to eat. You're either sitting at the table or you're sitting on the couch watching TV. And, like I said, hey, you turn the TV on, you meant to just watch one show. And with some of these programs, you wind up doing what? Binging. And so that's all day. So, whatever plans you had, now you just spent the whole day sitting down watching episode after episode. And so so you wind up sitting a lot. And so this is a threat to health that really is a lot more important than a lot of times things. I mean, of course, I put the question mark on there, and it's intentional, just to make people aware. Hopefully spark a little curiosity there, and hopefully we can explain a little bit about why why being sedentary has a lot of hidden dangers. Okay, it's a real big risk factor for chronic disease. So, all right. So if you think about it, because we could just come on here and say, hey, exercise more. We want you to exercise. But does that really get the message across if we just say, hey, exercise more? We really have to understand the truth of the matter, and that the body was designed to move. And that modern life has literally engineered movement out of our daily routines, and our health is paying the price. Our health is paying the price. So what we have to think about is, is like what is this? Why is this important? Why is this topic important? And really kind of think about exercise and movement in a much more intentional way, because physical inactivity is actually one of the leading risk factors for premature deaths. A lot of adults spend 8 to 10 hours sitting every day. This is not including the sleeping. So if you sleep for 8 hours and you sit for 10 hours, that's 18 out of the 24 hours. And even people who exercise can still be too sedentary. So even if you're exercising, like I said, you don't really think about just how long we spend sitting. So this is one of the things we want to talk about, that's kind of going through these issues. Okay. So if we have to kind of define sedentary lifestyle, and this activities that require very little movement. So whether it's prolonged sitting and reclining, watching TV and media consumption, working on a computer workstation, and this is the other one, long commuting and driving sessions. So these are what really contribute to a sedentary lifestyle. And let's just do an example. I mean, so if you commute 40, 50 minutes a day to and then from, it's almost 2 hours that you're sitting out of the day. And then if you combine that with what we said before, like I said, you're going to drive 50 minutes, you're going to go into the office. Most of the activity is behind a computer where you're sitting. And then you get out and you go back another 50 minutes. And then, like I said, you go home, you eat, sit down and watch TV. That's a lot of inactivity that's going on there. And a lot of times we just really don't think about it. Okay. So now, why does sitting matter? Okay. You slow the circulation down. There's some very biological issues that go on whenever you sit down for prolonged certain periods of time. But, if you're sitting down, you're not activating that heart. Circulation slows down. And this can increase like cardiovascular risk, reduce blood flow, kind of it activates certain things inside of the blood vessels. Blood pressure can rise. Diabetes can be a little more prevalent. And then obesity. Remember, moving is how you get to activate muscles. And muscles are metabolically active. So when you eat, drink, the Starbucks with the extra sugar stuff and the nature in there, you need to burn that energy up. Well, we just said you're sitting for 8 to 10 hours a day, and now you don't think about that. But now your muscles are not moving. So before, again, when we were an agrarian, you'd have been moving all day long. Even your breakfast, your lunch, you had to, it was a wood stove. Guess what? You got to go chop the wood, get the wood in, put it on the stove. Then you got to, roll the biscuits that you're about to eat. So, the very fact of getting basic nutrition required you to move a lot throughout the day. And so, now that we're not doing that, now that we're convenient, things are convenient, you don't think about the number of calories that you're no longer utilizing throughout the day. And so this increased sitting can lead to obesity. It can lead to your muscles being weaker. And so this can be and this stuff not only can lead to the obesity, but with minimal activity, muscles can burn significantly fewer calories, and then this can lead to atrophy and support in supporting the joints. Not only that, depression and anxiety seem to be linked to this inactivity as well. So one of the things that, when we've kind of talked about this before, one of the things we'd say is like, take your daily walk. Well, a daily walk, actually, there seems to be something about that activity that actually helps to elevate your mood. So sitting is not as benign as a lot of us think. So, so that's one thing that goes on. Now, the body was designed, our bodies were designed to move. Our bodies just were not designed to kind of sit there. They were designed to move. So movement is a multi-system medicine. It's a multi-system medicine. Okay, so the systems of your body are optimized to work while upright and active, moving in a regular on a regular basis. It delivers direct benefits to a lot of our critical systems. So like I said, we just kind of covered some of that stuff, whether we're talking about our heart health, like, bones and muscles. Like I said, when you're active, you actually stress the bones. And like I said, that helps to develop your bone development. Your immune system, like I said, I know a lot of people talk about, clearing lymph and stuff of the nature. The lymph system is actually designed to function in conjunction with movement. So you need to move in order to get your lymph system to move. It's not a pill, it's not a supplement. It is actually your movement that kind of helps your lymph to move around. And as that moves around, it kind of helps your immune system to work a little bit better. And then cognitive power also. The body, you also, you improve your cognition. Exercise is associated with improved cognition as well. So all of this stuff kind of goes together. All right. So, we kind of touched about this before, and that is the same thing. And that is that sedentary lifestyle is associated with increased risk of a number of chronic diseases. Everything from hypertension, diabetes. There's actually thought that some cancers are increasing people that have sedentary lifestyle, dementia, depression, anxiety, all of these things, osteoporosis. If you're not active, like I said, you're more likely to get this osteoporosis because, like I said before, when you do exercise, like weight-based exercise, and that includes, things that are things that are induce that activation. All this stuff kind of helps you to strengthen your bones. It helps to develop the muscles, which provide a number of good benefits inside of the body. So all of these things are linked. So it's not, we can talk about one aspect, but you're automatically kind of ignoring the other things that are beneficial. So, and actually like I said, there are actually studies where, certain physical activities are associated with improvement in things like your blood pressure. So independent of everything else that's going on, not certain exercises are associated with that. So this is something we have to be mindful of. Okay. Now, of course, African Americans, we have higher rates of a lot of these things. It's hypertension, diabetes, kidney disease, and so one of the things that we mentioned is that that a person needs to get a certain amount of activity every day, and that activity is associated with improvement in diabetes, hypertension, and secondarily, I guess our secondary, can be associated with some reduced risk of kidney disease. So all these things are out there, and actually there's documentation out there. Now, one of the things that happens is that sometimes we don't think about the environment that we live in and whether or not that is and whether or not that can promote activity, and that can be an equitable issue. And that can be an equitable issue and something that we have to consider, but it is important. So, all right. So, when it comes to some of the facts that we should know, you know, the stuff that we should know is these are kind of 7 facts that are kind of condensed that let us know what we need to know about, about the importance of movement. And that is number 1, like I said, the body was designed to move. And I think more than anything, that has to be one of the things that we really, really, really focus on is that, as technology makes our life much more convenient, sometimes we have to fight that convenience to make sure that we move more than sometimes we want to. And that can include things as simple as, parking further away from the front of a store, and so that we can get a few extra steps in, being mindful about how many steps we're getting in a day. And this is where some of the technology becomes important, because things like smart watches can kind of help you to monitor this. And, like I said, a lot of times we recommend that people move about 10,000 steps a day, about 150 minutes a week. The minutes can be hard to track, but if you have a smart watch or a Fitbit sort of device that can track your steps, then you can either monitor it yourself. You can also be a little competitive. Some people respond to competition where they kind of compete with each other to see who can get the 10,000 steps the most days, or see if they can beat the 10,000 steps. These are things that kind of help you to keep that activity going. Okay. Um, and then, things like sitting for long periods of time have health consequences. So this is something that you really need to know. So what do you do for this? Well, if you're sitting down watching TV, maybe you stand up, at the very least during the commercials. So so you're watching a movie, something of nature, especially now that the streaming programs have advertisements within them. So now, instead of getting irritated by that, what you do is you use that as a reminder that you need to stand. So that way you're not sitting for 90 minutes, 90 minutes to 2 hours. Hey, I'm watching a show, 20 minutes in, advertisement comes on. That's your cue to get up out of the couch, out of the chair, stand up. I don't care if you stretch, you might can do a squat or two, you can walk to the kitchen, but that activity counts. So you have to be mindful. That activity counts. We need you to not sit there for 2 hours. Okay. So we need to make sure that stuff. And number 3, and like I said, every minute of movement counts. So we want you to move, stretch a little bit, walk a little bit, make sure that you're doing those things that anything that that counts towards it. Hey, this is another thing you can do when you're watching a movie. Okay, so maybe you're doing some laundry, you fold the stuff up, then whenever the commercial comes on, you carry the basket of laundry to wherever it's got to go. So these are some tips that can kind of help you out. Okay, so and remember, like I said, all these movements, they affect all your systems. So they're affecting your heart, they're affecting your mind, they're affecting your bones. All this stuff is being covered. Now, one thing that I do let people know about activity is that consistency matters more than intensity, because a lot of people think that, okay, I skipped a whole week, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a lot more on that one day than I did over the last 2 weeks and try to basically catch up. But it's actually a little bit better for you to just do something consistently, every day, every other day. Do that consistently and build on that than it is to do a lot of skipping and trying to quote unquote make up, because the makeup that may not be as effective. So that's one way to think about this. Is like, you want to look at things that you're doing. You want to add this activity in on a regular basis and work it into your life. You basically want to fight the convenience of inactivity. And don't get twisted. There's always somebody trying to, make things more quote unquote convenient for you. But what you have to do, so whether it's a DoorDash, when you think about DoorDash, things of nature, or even, getting everything together at the grocery store so you don't have to so you don't have to walk around. So for, really look at your life and see whether or not you really need this. So the DoorDash thing, yes, somebody's bringing you some food to your house, but maybe it'd be better for, if there's a store in your neighborhood, it might be better to just walk there, walk back. You're burning calories, you're expending, you're getting that activity in. And yes, it's really convenient to kind of pre-order your food in the grocery store, but that also cuts down on the number of steps that you normally would have gotten while you're going through the grocery store to shop for your food. So you need to be mindful of that, especially and it's kind of difficult because if you're really busy, you kind of want to do that. But at the same time, if I'm really busy, am I getting the steps I need? So you have to kind of balance those two out. So you might have to go back to the shopping list. All right, I got a shopping list. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna get my stuff in there, because one of the things about the convenience of being able to order your food order your groceries ahead of time is that, hey, I go there, I grab my stuff and move. Okay, that's great. But it might be better to write you a list down so that you keep focused, go in, get your stuff, and then order it out. Like I said, now you've got to walk, you've got to carry the groceries back. All these activities contribute to a healthier you. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that already. So we're going to talk about a little bit about myths versus facts. Okay, so myth: I have arthritis, so I shouldn't move or exercise. And this actually comes up quite a bit. Um, and because, people think that, if you're, especially for folks that are older, like, oh, they're old, they got arthritis, they should sit down. No, no. If you're older, and if your parents, grandparents are, um, are active, keep them active. Don't make them sit down. Don't. Yeah, like, the more activity they do, the better. I actually had a situation with a patient of mine. Because that's how we got everything done. So it is. So yeah. So I let All right. So let's see. We got small changes count. Still muted. Hopefully y'all can hear me now. Okay. All right. We're back. We're back. Sorry about that. A lot of technical difficulties today. Okay, so just remember, small changes count. So, like kind of like we said before, you want to stand while you're talking on the phone. You want to stand during the commercials. While you're standing, if you're able to, you might want to do a couple of squats just to get just to engage those muscles there. You want to park further away from the store. Don't try and park at the early ones. Don't get somebody else's handicap sticker and hang it up because you're trying to get close. You want to take them walks. You want to take them steps. Get all them extra steps in there. And then when you got the bag, guess what? You got to carry that stuff back there. That's what we call a farmer's carry, and it is a very important exercise. So you want to do that. You want to take stairs. If you got to say going up to the second floor, try the stairs instead of instead of taking the elevator. That gives you some additional activity. And then, like I said, with the TV commercials, you want to walk. You want to walk during the TV commercials. You want to stand up during the TV commercials. You want to stretch during the TV commercials. So all that stuff matters. It really does matter. So, all right. So we're gonna I give a little bit of a challenge, or give a little bit of a challenge, or I guess what we're going to call a habit of the week. So we're going to try and let you know things that are going to be useful and helpful for you going forward. And so the habit of the week this week is going to be to make sure that every hour that you're standing up, that you're moving for at least 2 to 3 minutes every hour. Like I said, this ain't big. This is not some, hey, I need you to lift 250 pounds. No. When I say activity is important, I mean activity is important. So if you're at work and you're sitting, every minute, get up, stretch out a little bit. Man, I'm about to do this in a few minutes here. Stretch out for a minute or two. So stretch and move for 2 or 3 minutes. Get a couple of movements in there, and make sure it's safe for you, but make sure you do that. So that's going to be the habit for this week. Make sure you do that and see how you feel. See if you feel better whenever this happens. See if you feel better by, actually at the end of the day. If you just every hour you set your timer, hey, it's time for me to move, and you just do a stretch, like I said, stretch. Maybe if you're able to, and it's safe to do so, touch your toes. Maybe you do a one quick squat real quick. See how you feel after that, and let us know if that improves your health a little bit. Okay, so that kind of wraps up our show for the day. Next week, we want to talk a little bit more about exercise as medicine, and talk a little bit more about how to build movement into your daily life. So we spent the day talking about how important it is and how prevalent sedentary lifestyle is, being sedentary is. Next week, we're going to try and give you a little more tips about, how to incorporate this movement into the daily life. So thank you everybody for tuning in. I appreciate everybody that is on WVOE that's listening in. Everybody is listening on the live feed. Looks like I got a good friend of mine, Dwayne Muhammad, on there. I appreciate you making a comment. So until next week, I want everybody, like I said, we're going to build this healthy habit of the week. So we want you to make sure that every set that timer. Every hour you want to get up and make some movements. Outside of that, I appreciate you all for tuning in, whether you're on the live stream, watching the recording, or listening on the radio show. We really appreciate it, and we'll chat with you next week.